Hello, people. Finish the book. A Peace to End All Peace. Uh, this book is about the 1922 settlement, where it was pretty much just Great Britain that was responsible for almost all of this. France was there also. Uh, at that time, it was the Soviet Union, and it was no longer Russia. Italy, little tiny pieces, and the United States played its part just by not doing anything, by letting the European countries do whatever the hell they wanted to. Uh, I knew I was going to love this book when I bought it, and I started to read this in Florida. I picked it up, but when I saw how small the print was, I put it down. I went to something else. But it shows you the difference between reading with the natural light, like I got in here, in my reading room here, and trying to read with an electric light bulb. It's a big, huge difference. This was a pretty good book. Took me a long time to finish it. This was published in 1989, so it was before a lot of the important events regarding the Middle East. It was before 9/11. But he did, this is a reprint. This one is not an original print, and so there's like a edition in the back that includes 9/11 and some other stuff. But it was originally published in 1989, 567 pages of very small print. It's, the political aspect of things kind of bores me. So it's a good thing that this was written the way it was, because it goes through the First World War, but it completely ignores the Western Front and just focuses in on Britain versus the Ottoman Empire. Tempted to say Turkey, but it was not Turkey at that time. It was the Ottoman Empire. And it wasn't just Britain, it was Britain and Britain's Commonwealth. So they had Australian troops, Canadian troops, Indians, Sikhs were great soldiers. There is a lot of great people that meander through these pages here. Kitchener, who I despise. Churchill, everybody loves Churchill, but Churchill was not flawless. Jan Smuts, probably nobody knows who the hell that is. T.E. Lawrence, and they actually talk about a book. The title of the book is With Lawrence in Arabia. I have that book. It's sitting on my shelf in Florida, and I've looked at it many times and said, I should read that. But according to this author, and this guy's name is David Fromkin, according to this author, and it's, I guess, pretty well established that T.E. Lawrence was somewhat of an exaggerator, and the guy that wrote the book With Lawrence in Arabia was even more of an exaggerator. And so I don't know if I'll read that or not. Lawrence went out in the desert, and he was with this guy Faisal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I really don't. But Faisal was supposed to have encouraged Arab rebellion against the Turks, and everything Faisal did was greatly exaggerated. Numbers, the raids that he made, And the British actually embellished it because they wanted to make it look like, when it came time for settlement, they wanted to make it look like they owed the Arabs something. Uh, it talks about Gallipoli, and I'm going to say Gallipoli 1 and 2 because Gallipoli number 1, they tried to force the Dardanelles uh, with nothing but naval ships, French and British, and it turned out to be somewhat of a fiasco. Woodrow Wilson is in here, Lloyd George. The fourth paragraph, page 360. I don't have too much to read here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There on the plains of Turkestan, in the middle of nowhere, as far as the Western world was concerned, the confused armies clashed. On the battlefields of Dushkak, Kakha, and Merv, General Malleson's British Indian forces fought alongside Enver's Turkish supporters against Soviet Russians, aided by Imperial German and Austro-Hungarian prisoners of war who had been released and armed by the Bolsheviks. Alliances had been reversed. It was now Britain and Turkey versus Russia and Germany. And that's, it was a very confused situation in many parts, not just around Constantinople, but, the Ottoman Empire was huge. And especially the northern border of the Ottoman Empire was kind of in flux because the Russians were always trying to move south. Everything the Russians have ever done and continue to do is based on their need for a warm water port. Page 366, and this is not I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. This is a British Admiral Calthorpe, and it's what he thinks about the French Mediterranean fleet. Arthur Gow Calthorpe, who claimed that the French were, on the whole, incapable of running a sound naval campaign. that's one way to put, they're a bunch of fucking idiots. I feel like I lost a page of my notes. I don't know where it is. First paragraph, page 445. In 1917-18, when General Allenby took Palestine away from the Turks, he established a British military administration for the country. Ever since then, throughout the military administration, there had run a strong streak of resentment at having been burdened by London with an unpopular and difficult-to-achieve policy, the creation of a Jewish homeland in Palestine pursuant to the Balfour Declaration. From the beginning, Gilbert Clayton as chief political officer to General Allenby and Ronald Storrs as governor of Jerusalem had avoided giving any sign that they proposed to support that policy. Both men privately professed to believe in Zionism, though Clayton in particular seemed to define it in its narrowest possible sense. The fostering of an expanded Jewish community in Palestine that could serve as a cultural and sentimental center for Jews throughout the world. But within a British-administered multinational Palestine that would not become a Jewish state. Other British officers serving in Palestine were unsympathetic to Zionism even in this limited sense, and sided with the Arabs, who opposed it altogether. As they saw it, London's policy of Zionism might have been expressly designed to stir up trouble, and must have been devised by far-off officials who did not have to live with and deal with local conditions. In large part, the Balfour Declaration and the British political support for creating a Jewish homeland was to create a buffer state of sympathetic and possibly militaristic population. That's what I'm gathering, because this is not the first book that I've read in regards to that issue. Footnote, page 510. I think there was a few crazies too that wanted Jesus to come back and shit like that. This is a long footnote. And this print is small, and the footnote is even smaller. A sign of the times was a proposal by Sir Percy Cox early in 1922 to send the excavated antiques of Samarra, an ancient town on the Tigris River, to the British Museum before a native government could take office in Iraq. For more than a century, European consuls, travelers, and archaeologists had been taking back with them ancient objects, structures, and works of art from Middle Eastern sites without hindrance. Suddenly, in 1922, Cox feared this situation was coming to an end in Iraq. Similarly, and at roughly the same time, when Howard Carter in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt made the archaeological find of the century in locating the tomb of King Tutankhamun, he did what archaeologists had not been driven to do before. On the night of 26 November 1922, Carter and his associates entered the tomb secretly and took their selection of objects in it for themselves. They then resealed it and staged what they claimed was their first entry into the tomb for the benefit of the authorities of the new Egyptian kingdom the following day. From 27 November onward, there was an official of the Egyptian Service of Antiquities on guard at all times, and no further portions of the King Tut treasure could be removed by foreigners. Second paragraph, page 520, and then that's it. Churchill further attempted to allay Arab suspicions by demonstrating that their economic fears were groundless. Jewish immigrants, he argued repeatedly, would not seize Arab jobs or Arab land. On the contrary, he said, Jewish immigrants would create new jobs and new wealth that would benefit the whole community. That's what I mean about Churchill. He did some good stuff, but he also did some things that, in hindsight, he should have known were not going to turn out so good. Gallipoli was one of them. Thanks for watching.